Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Just working through some technical issues. Welcome to the regular council meeting for September 9th, 2025. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:03. Starting with our Treaty 6 land acknowledgement, Blackfalds Town Council acknowledges that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting ground, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. Council's had a chance to review tonight's agenda. Are there any additions or deletions from council? Administration?
Yes, we do have one addition. We would like to add 8.1 under confidential development density under access to information legislation, section 29, advice from officials.
Thank you. Section 8.1. Does any member of council wish to exempt an item from the proposed consent agenda before the adoption of the regular agenda? Seeing no exemptions, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the regular council agenda as amended. Deputy Mayor Coulter.
I move to accept the regular agenda as amended.
All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And looking for a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented. Councillor Schwab.
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is unanimous as well. We have no public hearing this evening. We do have a delegation. Welcome Louise Rellis from Annam Rural Youth Association for her report to the community. Good evening, Louise.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Council and Administration for the opportunity to share the impact Annam has had in our community this past year. As you are aware, Annam Rural Youth is a non-traditional, non-clinical mobile mental health support service. When I meet with youth and young adults, is to help them understand the development of the brain, impact of trauma lived experience, and the reasons why behind their behaviour, struggles and emotions. It's an introspective education mixed with motivational interviewing. Sessions happen in the vehicle while taking the client for something to eat via drive-through. I incorporate food to maintain a casual, informal setting, but mainly for the neurobiological benefits. The chewing motion of the jaw helps you self-regulate and helps build connection, and also aids processing. I bring training as a community workplace traumatologist, applied metapsychology facilitator, polyvagal theory practitioner with a foundation in child psychology. This expertise shapes Annam's unique approach. Adverse experiences and trauma continue to shape the lives of youth and young adults at every level, interpersonally, within the community, and across society. Youth who have faced trauma often struggle with behaviours that are misunderstood, leading to higher rates of discipline both in school and in the community. Instead of reducing the behaviour, it often displaces it. Compassionate intervention matters, underscoring the urgent need of trauma-integrated and compassionate intervention. When done with connection and a trauma lens, it is itself prevention. It interrupts cycles before they harden into outcomes like incarceration, substance abuse, and disconnection. Since forming as a grassroots nonprofit in 2021, Annam has been a voice and a presence in places where silence once prevailed. We were among the first to raise awareness about hidden realities in Blackfalds, including youth homelessness and youth sex trafficking, sparking necessary conversations and mobilising action. In 2024, Annam received 49 new referrals, 35% approximately from Blackfalds. By the end of August this year, we had already received 44 new referrals, 32% from Blackfalds. These numbers are on top of our ongoing clients that we see weekly and monthly, or bi-weekly and monthly. Behind every number is a young person fighting to believe they are worthy of healing, belonging. Your contributions have made this possible. Because of you, a youth didn't have to face their crisis alone. Because of you, cycles of pain have been interrupted and possibilities restored. It is my best estimate based on federal and municipal census data that don't align in age groups, but my best estimate that Annam supports approximately 10% of the youth population in Blackfalds between the ages of 13 to 25, 10, maybe 12%. While not every youth accepts our services once they're referred, approximately 95% do. And those are not one and done sessions. We meet multiple times with youth and young adults. On average, a youth meets between anywhere for up to 8 months, between 8 months and a year and a half. And that ranges from bi-weekly sessions to monthly sessions, depending on the extent of the referral. When we get it, we meet for bi-weekly for 2 to 3 months, and then we space them out to monthly as we get them more regulated and working on the nervous system. Here's what your support has meant in real terms. Looking at the new referrals alone in 2024, not including the youth we were meeting with already, the town's contribution works out to approximately 14 cents per session. We would respectfully request the opportunity for the town to increase its contributions in 2026 to better reflect both the demand and the impact of services in Blackfalds. Together, we can stop cycles of trauma, incarceration, suicidal ideation, and substance abuse before they reach the next generation. Together, we can foster resilience, belonging, and hope, ensuring that every young person has the chance to grow in an environment that supports their healing and future. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Deputy Mayor Coulter.
Not a question, just a comment. Thank you very much for the work that you do with the youth within Blackfalds and the surrounding areas. It means a lot to see somebody that with your credentials out there supporting them when they don't get support other places.
Councillor Sands.
Hi, Louise. Thanks for this presentation. You know, I'm a big supporter of yours, and I appreciate everything that you do. And I do hope, based on what you were talking about with funding, that we do see you come back to us for this, because I know it's money well worth spending when it comes to our kids. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Jim.
Councillor Schwab.
Thanks, Louise. I really appreciate all the work you're doing in our community and in the surrounding communities. You mentioned, was it 14 cents per youth
Per session.
per session? How much would you be looking for just if we're doing budget in the near future from Blackfalds?
That's a bold question. I know what I would love to say, but realistically, like it's on the grand scheme of things, but the municipality has a whole community that it needs to support. So it is kind of really looking at the value per percentage of the population in comparison to other resources. So like a comparable, we would like it to increase to comparable to other percentage of populations that the community does support at the moment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And thanks so much again for all your hard work. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura.
Councillor Dennis.
I repeat the same as what they say because we really appreciate what you've done. Thank you, Louise.
Now, of course, I echo the sentiment from the other council members. Aside from the individual work you do, and we all recognize, the value and the effort that goes into that. Haven't had a chance to meet with you for some time, but I know we have met in the past, and I know that you contributed quite a lot to the effort to try and establish a community-based coalition to try and support youth in our community, particularly vulnerable youth. And as we both know, it was difficult to get traction on who would actually run an organization like that. But I think it was clear through that process that was really necessary. And the last time that we talked, we talked a little about the Planet Youth Initiative that we did bring to council, and we obviously know that that's important, but it would require significant funding, if not from the municipality, from other organizations. But there was also discussion with the schools, and I believe that you were engaged with the public schools about a potential hub type of option. Do you have anything to add about that, or any follow up of what's happened since we talked
In
last?
my belief, the follow-up is the schools have created that. So in conversations with the superintendent back at the beginning of this year, the schools were going to facilitate that amongst the schools to start. I haven't been in touch since to see if it has progressed or if they have built on it, but it is on my to-do list at the next school council at the secondary campus. There was school council for, I think, the elementary and intermediate today, but because they're younger than my services, I didn't attend to bring it up there.
Okay, thank you. Well, and I appreciate your input on that, because again, I know that this is something that you advocate for constantly, and we've had some good discussions about that. I know that it's important to me, and we don't necessarily know what that looks like, but what I do believe, and I believe that you also support the fact that this takes a community to do this. Your individual efforts has a big impact, but as you're pointing out, 45 or 50
very small
individuals is a small amount, and it's really that one-on-one session is probably reaching the most critical youth, the most vulnerable youth. But our goal would be to try and capture many more that before they get to that point. So I look forward to hopefully having more conversations. I would suspect that the rest of council would also like to hear more about that when you do know more. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you get an update. And from my end, I'll connect you as soon as I know any more about that. So
awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
I do super appreciate the support from town, and the town was a huge instrument in getting that coalition up and going too. And I feel if that coalition hadn't have tried, we might not have had the schools beginning that hub process. So it's definitely a lot of comes from conversations, and the initial intention might not have been met, but a lot of progress comes from the conversations that were started.
Well, I think we identified a lot of the needs out of that. We identified, a sort of a framework out of that. It's just a matter of how does that come together and unfortunately resources play a big role in that. And it's not just money. It's manpower, as you know, you're putting a significant amount of time in this, and you're only scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So you know more than most. So again, thank you. And we look forward to having many more
Thank you
conversations
all.
about this. Moving into business items, brings us to item 6.1, request a decision on the council remuneration and compensation report and recommendations. We're joined by Kevin Hallett. Just want to touch the button on the mic there. Thank you.
Good now?
You're good.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Your Worship, Council. So I was the chair for the Remuneration Review Committee. And as you guys know, we're making recommendations on what the next group gets paid. So with that thought, it's not you guys, it's the next group. So, and a credit to the prior councils who have worked on the policy, because it really provided a framework that we haven't had in the past to work off of. So full credit to the groups who worked on that. So what we did as a group is we, with help from a human resources company, analyzed some of the comparable communities in central Alberta for how they compensate their mayor and council. And following the policy, we tried to figure out basically what was the right approach here. And everybody does it different. So it's trying to take 15 different ways of looking at it and distill it down into one common number. So there was a lot of variability in the compensation. The town of Blackfalds tends to have emphasis on per diem allotments as part of the overall compensation. And some of the other communities just do strict honorariums with no per diems. Per diems are budgeted at mayor and council for 17% and 25% respectively of the honorarium. So it indicates the mayor receives a higher honorarium as part of the total compensation, and a councillor relies more on the per diem to bolster the compensation instead of just the honorarium. So following the 75th percentile kind of guideline that the town uses for employees, and part of the policy. We are recommending that council continue to adopt that same 75th percentile of comparators for compensation, as well as the following recommendations effective January 1st, 2026. And we'll go through, we have notes on kind of each section of the policy as well in our recommendations. So number one, honorarium, the mayor's honorarium be set at $5,771. Council monthly honorarium be set at $2,772. And that in 2027, 2028, 2029, the monthly honorarium increases by 2% to provide a set amount. We recommend that the policy language be amended to remove the language that makes it optional to not increase the honorariums. What we found is, and this is my third time through on this, is that when council says no to honorarium increases, which are quite moderate, what happens is if you do that 2 or 3 years in a row, it stretches the amount that I have to tell you, you're going to have to bump things up to keep pace. So it's easier to just do little tiny bits at set intervals. And everybody else has all the comparators that we're looking at. They all have some form of increase. It's all over the place. It's some tied to inflation, some tied to CPI, some it's a flat number. It's kind of all over the place. But the one constant is every single one of them has a mechanism to increase year over year. So yeah, but definitely we would recommend that the language to make it optional is removed. So do you guys need to vote on any of these pieces, or did I just give her? Give her? All right. Okay. Per diems. Based on survey findings, our committee recommends in relation to per diems that the half-day per diem rate be increased to $145 to bring it to the 75th percentile of comparator amounts. I think that's an increase of $10. Full day per diem to remain as is, so no changes there. And then the policy be amended to outline what meetings and activities are eligible for per diems based on an approved list developed by council. And we had a couple of really good examples that if you guys wanted to steal from, the town of Sylvan Lake and the town of Morinville actually have fairly extensive lists. So all in the interest of clarity and transparency for what qualifies and what does not. Second recommendation on that part, council adopt a pooled per diem system, allocating $9,000 annually for the mayor and $4,000 for each councillor for a total of $33,000, and to allow for the option that if a council member exceeds their allotment, that a request could be made for additional funding to the mayor, or in the case of the mayor, to the deputy mayor. So once again, adding some more clarity to the policy. Benefits. Based on survey findings, the Council Remuneration Committee recommends the following. We recommend that the benefits remain as outlined in the current policy, and that the Abbey Centre Pass provided to council members be included in the policy as part of the benefits package. So this would be one to sort of formalize what I guess would be a handshake agreement up to this point in time to mimic what the town employees qualify for. So, and then it just makes it clear what's included in the compensation. For technology, based on survey findings, the Council Remuneration Committee recommends the following. The provisional amount provided for in the current policy remains the same. For travel expenses and reimbursement, based on survey findings, the Council Remuneration Committee recommends that the travel expenses for reimbursement for meals, vehicle use, accommodation, taxi and public transportation, vehicle rentals, parking costs, and incidental expenses remain as in the current policy. For financial implications, based on the recommendations, a 10% increase would be required for the legislative budget for 2026 to accommodate the recommendations.
Thank you. Do we have comments or questions? I hope so. So just kind of off the cuff, a couple of things that come to mind for me. So did the committee discuss with respect to the per diems? I know that you've made recommendations or pointed us towards Sylvan Lake and sorry, I can't remember
I
what
think it's
the
Morinville.
Morinville having fairly good and clear policy on that. Was there discussion and for the committee to put forward a list of meetings or types of work that they felt would best represent something that council should consider eligible for per diem, or is that something the committee felt was they wanted to have their hands off from that decision?
We really like the idea to, I guess, clarify where the per diems come from, just to sort of beef up the policy a little bit. In terms of what actually qualifies and what doesn't, Richard Poole was an excellent resource on that, having had lots of experience dealing with that particular topic. But the rest of us, we thought it would be better put towards the current council, who's actively going to these events and would need to get the per diems themselves, that you guys would have the most current information and probably the best knowledge on how to create that policy.
Thank you. And that was the second part of my question was the intention for the current council prior to the end of this term to form that subcommittee to make that decision? I'm looking at CAO Isaac and nodding the head. So it's something that makes more sense. Was there discussion as to whether or not that is a one and done type of discussion, or is that an annual review or it would just be put in place until the next remuneration review?
As part of the policy, that would be something that the next committee would probably go into. It's just not part of the current policy. Right. Once again, I think that you guys would know what events should qualify, and you would have you're sitting in the right seats to make that decision on which ones should go, what's a half day, what's a full day, what events qualify, what ones don't.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question I had, when we're talking about the pooled per diem budget, was there discussion? I know it indicated that the way I read it, that anybody that exceeded that would receive approval from the mayor or deputy mayor, if I understand that correct. Was there discussion for that being a decision as council as a whole, as opposed to one person?
Well, we did talk about that, and we were trying to think of, in a lot of these recommendations, we thought, what is the way that we can make this the clearest and the simplest? And we figured with something like that you signing off on, or the mayor signing off on anything over the budgeted amount for councillor would be the most appropriate, and the deputy mayor for yourself. Like, you guys could argue about $135 or $145 per diem for 10 or 15 minutes, but I figured you'd have better use of your time when that seems like a pretty easy rubber stamp, especially if you've got the list to back it up.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. And I think that's probably the most important thing that at least I felt would come out of this, is that we had a clear list of what qualified. As in terms of approval for who gets more, because there's money left in the budget, I think is definitely less difficult than deciding what types of events qualify for a per diem. So I just was curious whether or not there was discussion on that. So thank you.
Yep, and the pooled approach was also to provide flexibility, recognizing that certain councillors have more time to spend at events than others, and if they are out and about, that they should be compensated accordingly. So
yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Councillor Pell. Oh, sorry, Councillor Dennis first.
Now I've kind of forgot. No, actually, for the per diems, it's never been very clear that I've found. Some will put in for some things and some won't, and you can see it on the total of the budget, who's putting in and who's not. Like, I think that should have been adjusted when our time was approved. Like, say, hey, you're missing this on your when we submit our time, like, because there's a lot of things I never claimed for that I wasn't aware of that you could claim for. And then after it's like, oh yeah, you can claim for that. Well, I volunteered.
Councillor Pell.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Hallett, thank you for your presentation. I appreciate the time that you and your team of committee, as well as the team at Hillcrest, put into this. I do really agree with your findings on the per diems. Just for the last point that you made there, which I was going to say, was that I appreciate how the counselors that participate are the ones that receive the reimbursement, right? I was concerned when some of this information started coming in and it was showing that there's a lot of councils that are removing those per diems and just having straight honorariums. So I appreciate that your findings agreed with the way that we've been doing it. So thank you very much.
Councillor Schwab.
I have to echo Councillor Pell as well. And I appreciate the 2% because our first term on council 8 years ago, we didn't take a raise, and we know how that happened when the following election happened. So we all know how that works. I do appreciate the pool of the 33,000 too. I think that's great because we don't know who's going to be sitting in these seats. And I agree, some may have time to do the job more than others. So I think that's awesome. And echoing Councillor Dennis's comments, I appreciate having a list. I know I volunteered a lot for council because I didn't think I needed to put stuff in either. And I don't mind volunteering, but I think that if we're all doing the same job, we should all be getting paid the same. And we do put in our monthly reports. So if somebody could have caught that for some of us, that would probably have been a lot more appreciative too. But going forth, this looks really good, and I really appreciate all your guys' time working on this.
Thank you. So now I know that there's only 2 motions here, and I think Mr. Howell kind of asked in the beginning whether or not we should be breaking this up, and I wonder if there's an appetite with council to do that rather than just making blanket recommendations. I mean, of course, anybody is free to make that overarching motion if they wish, but I think to me there's 2 or 3 significant pieces to this that I think could potentially be broken out. First being the honorariums, the increase for both mayor and council. The second being determining their per diem, what qualifies for that. And part of that would be establishing a committee, whether or not that's a subcommittee with only some council members or whether that's all of council. I think that could be a discussion as to whether we make that an individual motion. And then I think the final one was and that is an individual. And the other one was the I guess we could lump together benefits and mileage, meals, things like that into one. But what does the rest of council feel in terms of breaking this down, or what does everybody feel that they're comfortable making an overall motion? Deputy Mayor Coulter.
Thank you for the suggestion. I'm thinking that an overall motion would be good because there isn't, myself personally, I don't see anything here that I would debate in changing. And as the motion does say, as laid out in the report, recommendations outlined in the report. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sands.
I'll agree with Councillor Coulter. I think it's all pretty straightforward, and I don't have anything that I would have a problem with in the report at all. So I think it's pretty well laid out, and I'm in favor of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to raise that as an option. So I appreciate the input. So we do have the 2 recommendations in front of us if someone's interested in moving. Deputy Mayor Coulter. I should know by now the tapping is to draw my attention. It takes a second.
I move that council approves the recommendations outlined in the report.
Thank you. Is there any debate or discussion on that motion? I call the question. All in favor? That is unanimous. Moving. We do have the second motion if anyone is willing to make that.
Certainly. I move the council establish a subcommittee of council tasked with identifying and compiling a list of activities that fall under the monthly honorarium and what is eligible for per diem compensation, and present their recommendations to council for review and approval.
Shut it off. And just so I'm clear, is this the intention for this to be all members of current members of council, or are we talking about select? So in that, would you intend that to be the entire council?
I had thought it would be 3 to 4 people, as it's just easier to get less of us together than it is all of us. However, I'm open if everyone is able to make themselves available. I'm open for it to be all council.
Thank you. I see Councillor Schwab.
I was just gonna say exactly what you said, but I would be available to do this. So I don't know if everyone wants to, but I'll throw my name in the ring.
Thank you. And of course, my opinion, I think everybody has a say and has a stake in this, and Councillor Dennis has expressed, a good point earlier that she wasn't clear. So based on her experience, she's going to have some input. Councillor Sands, Swab, the same thing. So I would prefer if it was including everyone, so there's no discussion afterwards that one person wasn't included in that. So
I do, in that case, just before we vote, have a question for administration. So through the chair to CAO Isaac, would you like the wording on this changed from subcommittee? Would you like me to request a special meeting of council be booked to discuss this?
Yeah, I think if it's going to be entirely council, then
Okay.
we should look at doing that as a meeting.
Okay. So in that case, can I make a new motion?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it was still up for debate.
Mhm. So in that case, I move that council what's the best way to put this? Schedule, thank you very much. Schedule a special council meeting where council can be tasked with identifying and compiling a list of activities that fall under the monthly honorarium and what is eligible for per diem compensation, and present their recommendations to council for review and approval.
Thank you. Debate or discussion on that motion? My question would be, will we have the opportunity to engage with the consultant or the committee to assist us through this, or this is going to be entirely up to council for this?
And Chair Hallett can confirm, but my understanding was it was gonna be
Council,
turned over to
thank you.
council.
And that is the motion. So thank you. All right. So everyone's good on that. No debate or discussion. I call the question. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. And now we'll schedule at a later date, obviously soon.
Yeah, so just so that you know, council, what we would need to do is then bring the remuneration policy back for approval with all of these recommendations in there. So yeah, we'll probably want to schedule a special meeting fairly soon.
It would have been
Possibly next
necessary
week.
anyways, right? If we were bringing this back.
Yeah.
And does this come back as a policy, not a bylaw? So
Policy.
correct. Okay.
correct.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Probably see you guys again in 4 years.
Councillor Dents.
So we can have the ones that they said Sylvan Lake and Mornville. Yeah, that'd be good to have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can email them.
Thanks.
Moving on to item 6.2, being request for decision on bylaw 1341.25-1, McKay Ranch Boulevard redistricting. I don't think that -1 belonged in there.
Good evening, Mayor Hoover, members of council. The bylaw before council proposes to redistrict 1 McKay Boulevard in the McKay Ranch community from the current commercial local district, C3, to commercial mixed-use district, CMU. The applicant has advised the intent of this redistricting is support the development of a modest, well-integrated mixed-use building featuring ground floor commercial with a maximum of 12 residential units above. The applicant's rationale for the redistricting application, along with copies of both of the current and proposed districts, are included as appendices in your report. Administration is supportive of this redistricting as it's generally conforming with the updated McKay Ranch area structure plan that was adopted by council on June 25th, 2024. Although the governing ASP identifies this parcel specifically for future C3, being the commercial local district, the intent of both the C3 district and the proposed CMU district is similar. That is to provide for commercial uses that serve and are compatible with adjacent residential uses. Administration support of the application is furthered by the direction contained in several town policies and focus areas, such as strategic priority number 1, community life in the town of Blackfalds 2024 to 2026 midterm strategic plan, which identifies promoting options for housing. Policy 3.12 of the town's municipal development plan lists items for consideration when assessing a redistricting application. For example, the suitability of the site for proposed use, compatibility with surrounding uses, impacts on municipal road and infrastructure services, and so forth. Administration is satisfied that the proposed redistricting is suitable in light of those considerations. And policies 5.2 and 5.6 of the MDP speaks to the town providing for a range of housing types and avoiding an excessive concentration of any single type of housing in a community. The proposed CMU district can accommodate residential with a commercial component, which is a different type of housing than what is currently available in the McKay Ranch community. In the name of transparency, I think it's very important to note that if this redistricting application is approved as submitted, there is a possibility of this parcel being developed solely as residential, because under the apartment use, which is a discretionary use in the CMU district. During the public hearing process, council may remember that, or for the public hearing process for the updated area structure plan, this site was originally proposed to be identified for future residential medium district R3. Several residents expressed their desire to retain the parcel for commercial uses, citing the lack of commercial amenities in the eastern part of town. Council subsequently directed the applicant to revert the parcel back to C3 district in the updated ASP, which was ultimately approved with the site specifically shown for future C3. Again, administration support is based on the intent of both the C3 and the CMU district being similar, that it accommodates commercial uses that are compatible for residential. With all that said, there's a two-part administrative recommendation before council. The first being that council give first reading to bylaw 134125, redistricting of lot 3, block 13, plan 1422837 as presented. And secondly, that a public hearing date be set for October 24th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in council chambers. I welcome any questions.
Deputy Mayor Coulter.
Thank you for this and the recommendations. I just want to clarify, because this parcel, we did already do a change on it. Did we not? Like do a redistrict on it?
Through Mayor Hoover, it wasn't a redistricting. What council amended was that the area structure plan, which is your statutory governing document for the future land uses for the McKay Ranch community. So that sets a path on what this parcel is expected to be in the future. So yes, council did direct that it be C3 and specified as such.
And sorry, just one other quick question. So if we change the use from this, that means there would be no commercial over there at all, but possibly no commercial, because you said this could possibly end up all residential.
Through Mayor Hoover, once the zoning is changed, then we are bound by the uses that are prescribed in that district. So in the copy of your appendices, I have both the C3 district and the CMU district, so you can see what is permitted uses and what are discretionary uses. Permitted uses are uses by right. If an application comes in that conforms with the land use bylaw, then the town is obliged to issue a permit for that. Apartment is a discretionary use in the CMU district. So there is some discretion on whether or not the development authority can approve that. However, there needs to be strong planning rationale for refusing such an application. That's why I felt it necessary to advise council that there is a possibility that with apartment being identified as a discretionary use under the CMU district, that you could see an apartment being built there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Appel.
Thank you. Through the chair to Manager Teckle. Before this came forward to us last year in June, was this parcel not originally actually CMU? And then it went, because when I was reading in our agenda package from that meeting in June, whatever it was, 24th or 25th, 2024, there was somewhere in there that it had listed that this was at one point CMU. So,
Yeah.
so really this would just be putting it back from solely commercial into mixed use so that it could be both.
Through Mayor Hoover, to be honest with you, I don't recall what it originally was allowed for, but I do recall that there was some commercial mixed use. I wasn't certain that it was this parcel.
No, fair enough. I will say I'm absolutely in favor of commercial mixed use. I was very excited when we thought we would have a commercial mixed use building at the end of Broadway there at the very south end. And it was unfortunate that that didn't work out. So I think if this were able to happen, I think that'd be absolutely fantastic for live work opportunities, and love to see more apartments. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I do recall us having the discussion that, it would be interesting to see, because that's, I don't think there's any other instances that we can think of in our community, and not a lot in the region, even in terms of mixed commercial residential. So whether or not that was discretionary, but
Through Mayor Hoover, there is the old post office is an example
Okay.
of an older building that is commercial mixed use, but you're
Okay,
absolutely correct. We don't see a lot of new builds for that. There's some complexities when you get into the commercial component of it, but they're definitely possible.
oh, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, you're right. We do see that there's apartments above that. It's so easy to overlook that. But yeah, I know that in urban, maybe denser urban areas, that seems to be a way to provide services for people in those denser neighborhoods. And I felt that Blackfalds Crossing, one of the phases, initially had that as it may even be CMU district in.
Yes,
Blackfalds
yes.
Crossing,
The Blackfalds Crossing Area Structure Plan does have several parcels identified for that in the future,
Right.
not as part of the current phases under the development.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so there's definitely an appeal and a place for that. Councillor Dennis.
Is there a way of saying that it has to be a certain percentage of commercial?
Through Mayor Hoover, unfortunately, there is not. That is something that needs to be regulated through the land use bylaw. And I shouldn't say there's not. We could always make an amendments to the land use bylaw that adds that ratio in. However, that's not part of this application.
All right. I don't know. I'm skeptic that it might end up turning into, let's do an apartment and it's cut and dried, and the people that had concerns about having commercial over there would be too bad, so sad. I'd have concerns about that. Thank you.
Councillor Sands.
Thank you. So, I remember also when this came up, and the residents that came to speak to us about their concerns with keeping this or making this commercial, and the reasons why. And so I was surprised when this did come up to us again. And so I guess I got a question, just because I know there are residents over there that are concerned about it. And I just want to question, if we were not in favor of this, now is the time to not be in favor of it. Is that correct?
Through Mayor Hoover, in this case, council absolutely does have an opportunity to defeat this amending bylaw before you. However, I would state that that should be defeated at the second reading if you are considering doing that. Because the fact is that this area structure plan does specifically identify this site for C3, so you do have planning rationale to have that bylaw defeated.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councillor Swab.
I do like the idea of the CMU district, just from working in the building that we were just talking about, because it offers a lot more smaller atmosphere. So if you want to have a lawyer in there or a small little physiotherapy clinic or whatever, you have that opportunity to do it. And I'm kind of echoing what Councillor Sands is too, because we just had this happen last year, and now for rezoning it again. But I do think that we should go up with the first reading first, have the public hearing, have people come and discuss it and see where they're at, because in our community, people move a lot. So there might be an appetite for this, where last time it was an appetite for that. So I think it just gives our community that time to actually come in and speak to us. So I do appreciate that. And if nobody has any questions, I can move this motion. That council give first reading to bylaw 1341.25, redistricting of Lot 3, Block 13, Plan 1422837, McKay Boulevard as presented.
Thank you. Debate or discussion on the motion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Looking for a public hearing date, Councillor Sands.
I'll move that a public hearing date.
It was
Was
Deputy
it
Mayor
her?
Coulter.
Was it her? No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Simultaneous buttons.
Get the gavel.
Okay, I'll move that a public hearing date be set for October 14th, 2025 at 7 PM in council chambers.
Debate or discussion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. We have no notice of motion. We do have a confidential item, so I will put us into a bio break at 7:49 for 5 minutes. Thank you.